The time has come, my friends. We are doing Bible study today. We are in First Kings and we are in chapter 8. What a glorious chapter we are in. Quite literally, it is glorious, for we will be discussing God's glory. The link has been dropped. You now have to wait 5 minutes, or you can skip ahead if you're watching this ahead of time, or later on, I mean. I have a little bit of a headache, so maybe that'll get me to say some more interesting things. We'll see what happens. Either way, we're talking about a really, really great chapter of Kings. I hope to see you in 5 minutes. Boom. Wow, what a group of people, right from the word go. So glad to see y'all. How's everyone doing?
Phenomenal.
Ex- Excellent, excellent. Sandy and Matt, I haven't seen you guys in a while. Sandy, good, especially good to see you because it's been especially long. I feel like since I've seen you.
Yeah, it has been work hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Might have to change work hours. I'm struggling, so we'll see. You might see me more.
Okay. I hope that is good. Good. Yeah. And Matt, great to see you again.
Good,
Are you working right
good to
now?
be.
Are you ballooning?
I about to. I'm just slow. It's a slow morning. I got back from like a 2 week like massive like road trip vacation yesterday morning. I went straight into work. So
Yeah,
yeah. I'm dragging a little bit today, but gotta go. There's the gear. Gonna make the hat in a minute.
yeah. And Yoav, how are things going for you?
Fine, thank you. Green Grizz started broadcasting half an hour ago. So I posted a message there saying King Glory arrives in half an hour, and he didn't understand.
Yes, yes. Glory arriving is something that you want to be there for. Um, and we got Michael Sartori. Sartori, great to see you as always. Yoav, thank you for
Glad to be
promoting
here.
the channel, by the way. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I just said I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, glad you can make it. Right on time. All right. I think I'm going to jump us into the text. This is great. Sandy, I don't know if you've been watching in Cassandra's absence. I've had to read just terrible. People hear my voice enough. You know what I mean? It's yeah. Okay. Let's get into it, shall we? Go ahead, Sandy.
Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the leaders of the fathers' houses of the people of Israel, before King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled to King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and they brought up the ark of the Lord, the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. The priests and the Levites brought them up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel, who had assembled before him, were with him before the ark, sacrificing so many sheep and oxen that they could not be counted.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Or numbered. We'll take a break right there.
Okay.
Sartori, can you guess what is the feast in the month of Athanim? Do you know what that feast is?
I'm guessing it's tabernacles.
Hey, great job. yeah.
I just figured
You're
because of
absolutely correct.
the massive numbers of sacrifices.
That's right. And also because the temple is a outgrowth of the tent, right? You start with the tabernacle,
Yep.
and then the tabernacle becomes something no longer mobile but foundational. So that time, the Feast of Tabernacles, you dwell in tents, and Yoav, you're going to have to correct me if I'm incorrect. But there's an idea in for Sukkot, for tabernacles, that it is to remember the time that we dwelt with God in tabernacles. That's part of, like, in tents. There was a time that we were just in booths, so that's part of why you make a booth. Is that correct? Okay, awesome. So they're remembering this time where God's presence was with them when he was in the booth with them. So they're all and that's also a pilgrimage feast. So Yoav in previous weeks talked about. Oh, you got something to say, Matt? Go ahead.
Yeah. Just thinking about when David wants to build the temple, and one of the things he's bothered by is the fact that like Well, I'm in a house, but you're in a tent. Is there something about David not wanting to be reminded of the wilderness days, in a sense?
Ooh, that's an interesting one, because he does have an issue with being too much like a king. And there is, along with that, we see the making of Solomon's house at the same time as making the house for the Lord. Those happen at the same time. So that's interesting, Link. But what I was going to say before is Yoav had mentioned part of the function of a temple is for people to make pilgrimage, is for people to come and see this building. And one of the feasts that are pilgrimage feasts is the Feast of Tabernacles. So now it's all finished, and we're doing the ritual of opening up the place on that day. Does anyone have anything else they want to throw in regarding that?
Just a point of geographic. They're bringing the ark up from the city of David, from the Mount of Zion, meaning that the city of David was not on the top of the Temple Mount. It was further below. And this is where we actually find it, halfway to the valley.
Interesting. It's good. It's good. Anyone else? Yeah, you always notice the going up, because some of us don't live in the land, Yoav, so we don't understand the geography as well as you do. And so I think you notice the symbolism of that much faster than everyone else.
Also, a point of geography. Mm-hmm. There couldn't be too many people going to celebrate because the mountain being a mountain. If you put the temple on the top of the mountain, there's not a lot of place for people to stand. It's a bit hilly. People may be gathering in a valley below, but not too many people in the temple itself.
That's interesting. Like, the temple's not at the top. There's still, like, in the temple building, a certain condescension to our level. Across the mountain for monasteries, I guess.
That's interesting. Sandy, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share? Okay. I want to make mention of what Don is saying. I thought he meant a tent wasn't good enough for God now that they were settling in. That is definitely one of the themes that's in this. And what does it even mean to try to give God a house? Solomon is going to address that directly. So yeah, patience. It's a virtue. Okay. And I believe we're at verse 6. Sandy, would you continue reading, please?
Then the priests brought the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord to its place in the inner sanctuary of the house, in the most holy place, underneath the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, so that the cherubim overshadowed the ark and its poles. And the poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the holy place before the inner sanctuary, but they could not be seen from outside. And they were there, and they are there to this day. There is nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets of stone that Moses put there at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the people of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt.
Okay, let's pause 1 second. I'm actually bothered by this. Because I don't know what happened to the rest of the stuff that was supposed to be kept in the ark. Because it's supposed to have, I believe it's supposed to have Aaron's staff in it that budded, as well as Moses' staff, as well as a little jar of manna. But maybe, is that kept somewhere else? I thought all these items were kept in there. Did someone eat the manna? What happened to the manna?
Was the bronze serpent in there at one point in time?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't kept in there. The bronze
Right.
serpent was kept separately, and it became a pagan, like it became an idol to the people.
Right,
Um,
right. Just thinking of like the temple space is becoming a space for like collection of artifacts. Goliath's sword ends up at the temple at Nob.
that's when it's still a tent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
When it's
right, right,
yeah,
right,
but I
right,
get what
right.
you
But it's a
mean
certain like that's the
because
space where these weird objects belong. Seems like.
oh, that's an interesting idea. I never thought of it in those terms. That when you went to the temple, there may have been like a museum. And it's just like, so maybe you don't like, it's maybe not even part of the temple complex proper as far as the worship part, but you can see artifacts related to the history of Hashem with his people. So it's like,
They
yeah,
are called relics.
relics. That's what, yeah, that's a great use of the word. Sartori, do you have things that you would like to say?
No, I was trying to figure a work thing out, and I was very confused, so I didn't hear much of what was actually happening. So,
I've been there before.
yeah.
The image of the ark being in shadow, I do think is important, because you have the use of veils to create space between the people and the ark as God's throne. So as God's throne, you're not supposed to look on it directly, so that it is being put in darkness, that you have smoke that's going to be set up for Yom Kippur so that you don't see it, that there is a very important door or curtain in order to enter. All this is it's significant. Okay. We get little reminders of the beginning of the story. So it's in case you didn't know the context. There was nothing in the ark except for the 2 tablets of stone that Moses put there at Horeb, where Hashem made a covenant with the people of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. So it's like this part of the story is reminding us of the larger part of the story. Oh no. Don's work is getting in the way of participating in Bible study, I think. That's why the corner supports unemployment. Yeah.
I thought she was referring to me, probably.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. I think my point still stands. I guess what I'm saying is I miss Cassandra. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they want to? Yeah, you're right. You're following. Read me 2 verses, Sandy. Go ahead.
When the priests came out of the holy place, a cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud. For the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord.
Ooh. So there it is. There's that glory. This is the glory that has now filled the house of the Lord. Good stuff. Make some comments because I can go on for too long about this. Sandy, you're already unmuted, so you share your thoughts first.
Sorry. I have snippets of song playing in the back of my head. And it's interesting because I think of a cloud the way I think of clouds today, being white or being, more white gray color thing, the types of clouds we see that are rain clouds. But when I read this and I think about the glory of the Lord, they feel almost like they're like some kind of like yellow, like you see like
Talking about heat lightning, like when the clouds glow, sort of a thing.
That or when they get so close to the ground, like on an early sunshine morning, and they're like more like ground fog, but they glow with the light that's behind them. They don't feel like rain clouds to me. They feel like something that's.
Sandy, how did you know where I was going? Keep going. That's good.
Well, actually, I didn't know that was where you were going, but it just is something that really stands out to me. I'm trying to, sorry, I'm struggling for words. I don't spend enough time with people lately. They almost feel translucent on the one hand, like in my mind, when I think of a cloud of glory, it feels translucent and yet almost like something that, it honestly feels like something that indicates a different place. Um, and that sense of if you stand in the midst of a cloud like this, there's that, the word fear takes on new meaning. There's this more sense of awe because you can see and not see all at the same time. And yeah, it's almost intimidating. And yet you kind of don't want to walk away from it just because of, which means what would it actually be like when we do stand before the Lord? And for the people outside, if they could see the poles, does this mean that they could see some of what was happening inside if they were like close enough to the outer, like close enough to the front of the outer perimeter?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it exactly because it seems kind of to me like it's before they close the door, right? Like because there is a very important curtain and barrier that's placed there, but right now we have like we have it kind of semi-visible.
Well, and okay, this is not even going to be a useful comment probably, but when I listened to Chabad Daily Torah, and it was either there or on one of the streams I was listening to from Joey Rosenfeld that was talking about. Now my mind's gonna pull away from it.
Okay, let's put a pin in that right now. Figure out what you're going to say. I'm going to ask. I'm going to touch in with everyone else, and I'm going to touch in with you again. Okay. Matt, let's go to you first. If there's anything that you're noticing in this.
I say kind of like parallel connections I'm kind of making, or at least one thing I can't stop thinking of. I heard one kind of like talk about a guy kind of like described what it feel like to go into like the Holy of Holies, and he's talking about the space like architecturally, and that because it's like a cube and it's also space that's in darkness, and then when you flood it with the smoke from the sensors and whatnot, it's a space that's designed to like physically disorient you, like your sense of like space and meaning, because it's not to human proportions. That like supposedly is supposed to create this sort of sense of almost like physical eternality, like because you can't quite feel the ends of things anymore. And I'm also thinking I just finished my road trip kind of like through the Southwest, so looking at a lot of kind of like indigenous kind of like ritual spaces, and just has me thinking of kind of like the presence of like smoke holes and smokehouses as a space for kind of like communal and kind of like ritual reinforcement. Just I like how like symbolically potent smoke and clouds are, whether up in the sky or artificially created through fire and whatnot.
Yeah, that's great. Yoav, yourself, are there any thoughts that you're having? No. Sartori?
So the thing about the overshadowing that I brought to mind, and then I just looked up to, in Luke when it talks about the angel speaks to Mary and tells her that the Spirit of the Lord is going to overshadow her. And obviously a lot of like Catholic and Orthodox theology connects Mary with like the ark. Um, so to what extent that is debatable, I guess, but I think that's certainly where there's a connection there, and it is sort of a thing where it's like no, because the priests don't really make it in, right? The cloud comes out in a sense, right? Like this thing where like coming from within the space outward, like it's kind of a weird reversal of like the normal thing, because what Matt was saying with the incense, it's like the priests bring the incense in, but this is a cloud coming out. So I mean, its origins are clearly divine, and I think the darkness thing of it, I was thinking about that, and we tend to think of that as like in color, like probably like black, like a dark cloud is like a black cloud. But well, there aren't black clouds though. Really, like you can have a like black smoke, but like clouds can look black because the density is just so great that it is reflecting all the light, on the other side of above the clouds, and so it can be. It's pure water vapor, but it's at such a density that it's creating darkness. So could be something like that,
That's good stuff. Sandy, do you remember what you were going to say?
No, that's okay. It was just about clothing covering something that was said, but I don't remember the full context, so no.
Okay, so I see. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, just one more thing that kind of Sartori's comment kind of sparks. Just sort of the kind of like the overwhelmingness of it kind of draws me back to Aaron's firstborn sons, Nadab and Abihu. And that's another moment where the implements of worship get out of control. In that case, it's an act of like judgment, casting them out. And this is another moment where like the instruments of worship, in this case, the smoke rather than the fire, is out of control in a way that pushes the human out of the tabernacle. But this is when things are going right rather than when things are going poorly.
Right.
Something profound from a color expert.
From a color expert. Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
A material has two intrinsic properties, absorption and scattering, with interaction with light. What a cloud or what a fog does, it obscures the view only by scattering without absorption. So when we're looking at God, the light is not absorbed. The light passes through. We just don't understand it. It is scattered around, and we cannot decipher the image because the light has been scattered, but it hasn't been blocked.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so this is part of my theory. You guys tell me what you think. There's two things that are being echoed in this. Number one thing that's being echoed in this is when Moses is on the top of Sinai, God appears. There's smoke on the top, right on the top of the mountain, which Horeb or Sinai, as well as the temple is referred, like where the Temple Mount is referred to as the mountain of God in specific texts. So there's an idea that it's recreating this moment of where they received as well. And within that, Moses meets with God, and you see the cloud rests where God is meeting with Moshe. So there's that aspect of it. But there's a secondary aspect that I feel is present within this too. And Sandy, I felt like you were saying this a little bit, and I want to know if people think I'm going too far. Some people have noted that the imagery on the walls of the temple is garden imagery. And I think, and the language of work and keep that is spoken of what the priests will do is the same language used regarding Adam and Eve, that they are when they're tending the garden. It's the same language. Okay. And other people have noted that it's, Eden is where 4 rivers are leaving, so therefore it's on a mountain as well. And in Ezekiel, it is also referred to as the mountain of God. So it's like, and how was Eden watered? Eden was watered by a mist that would, and Sandy, you were saying, well, I'm kind of not picturing a cloud like in the sky. I'm kind of picturing like the mist that is kind of the language that you were saying, the fog or the mist or whatever, right? That's a cloud that's on the ground. So this idea that it's like re-entering Eden. It's like they're in this Eden space, because that was also the time where we remembered when God would dwell with human beings, right? Just like the tent, tabernacles, Sukkot reminds us of when we would dwell with God. So does this. Seem likely? Do you think this is a crazy idea? No, sounded good. Go ahead, Sandy.
I think there's all. Oh.
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead. You do it.
Oh, yeah. There's kind of all this kind of concept that you see throughout. It's like the thing with the Tower of Babel. Like, what are they doing? They're trying to connect to God. Reconnect to God or whatever. This is like the point of all these pyramids and ziggurats. Is like you have this hill, because that's like you're trying to recreate the holy place where you can meet God. And I think God tends to speak like within the context of people's expectations. So like on the one hand, people will say like, oh, the temple. So like this is like the John Walton thing. It'll be like Genesis isn't about creation, because it's really about like a metaphor for the temple or whatever. Like the temple's the main thing. But I think it's more that God keeps speaking in the context that people expect. And this is like their expectation that, they're going to recreate the holy place on the mountain, but it's the right mountain, and they're doing it all the right way. And the confirmation that they've done things the right way is that God shows up. So, yeah. So I think it's definitely all connected to all the kind of symbols that run throughout.
I think you're right. Michael, I think Michael knows about this. Does anyone know about the mouth opening ceremony that the Egyptians had?
Yeah, I've heard of it, yes, from Heiser and whatnot.
Okay. So we have found multiple rituals where, let's just say you make a temple, a sacred space, or even you just make an image of a god. Okay. It is not merely a god because you made it. And it's not, the god doesn't live in your temple just because you wrote his name on it or whatever. You would call the spirit of the god into the place. Is like in Egypt, it was over the course of, there were 6, like the mouth opening ceremony had 6 parts. So that was the calling of the spirit of that god, sometimes over the course of a week. Sometimes you have the 6 days, and then the culmination of that, right? Where you call the spirit of the god to dwell within the temple through this dedication process. And so one of the significance of saying that this is overlapping with the Feast of Tabernacles is 7 days. It's not merely one day. It is a week-long ceremony. So it's like, again, it's recreating the creation week, and they're calling the spirit of the god to dwell in this place, and then God's presence is there. Yoav, I got a little bit of a smirk from you, and I don't know if that's from someone else talking to you or if this is connecting.
I'm not smirking, but I keep thinking about the name of the mountain Sion, because there are several mountains in Jerusalem. So there was the mountain of Sion, but this is not the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is a nearby mountain. So why is that mountain called Sion? Sia is one word for desert. We have several words for desert. And Sia, especially the very dry desert that is in, like the desert that is in east of Jerusalem. So the guess is that there was a temple to the god of the desert, the god that is controlling the high desert east of Jerusalem on that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, way before even the Israelites arrived. And again, the metaphor that they had even back then, before Judaism, is that whatever God that is controlling the land is on the mountain that is overlooking that land. So people in the desert will look up to that mountain from which their rivers flow. So the control of their lives came from that mountain. So this is where they placed their God. So the image of the God living on top of a mountain goes way back in Jerusalem, way before Judaism.
Interesting. Well, we have very, very, like, just the basic idea of it's a place where heaven and earth meet. And even with the idea of the cloud maybe even resting on the mountain, there was a ritual about the blessing and pouring out of water that would occur related to this feast as well. So there's all these, like the idea that it's coming, like the water's coming down and watering everything else. There's a lot of symbolism happening related to this. Okay, Sandy, would you continue? Or sorry, does anyone have anything else they want to add? Okay, continue, Sandy.
Then Solomon said, "The Lord has said that he would dwell in thick darkness. I have indeed built you an exalted house, a place for you to dwell in forever." Then the king turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel stood. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who with his hand has fulfilled what he promised with his mouth to David my father, saying, Since that the day I brought my people out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel in which to build a house, that my name might be there. But I chose David to be over my people Israel." Excuse me. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to David my father, "Whereas it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Nevertheless, you shall not build the house, but your son who shall be born to you shall build the house for my name."
Okay, let's pause 1 second. So we have the use of it's just fascinating. It's God's glory enters the house. It's the house for his name. House for the name. It's repeatedly saying it. Build a house for my name, for the name of Hashem, right? Like it's saying the name of God is going to dwell there. That's the place where his name is going to dwell. And then the name and the glory seem to be, there's some sort of a connection between the name and the glory. Okay, we're gonna keep going, Sandy, if that's all right. Do you need me to read? Are you having an allergic reaction or or an emotional one? Okay, I see some coughing. Okay,
I just had a discovery.
excellent.
I'm struggling with this English translation to darkness, and the Hebrew is, yeah.
I was wondering how you felt about that after you were talking about how that worked, and it says,
Yes, so
"He would dwell in thick darkness."
Yeah, because okay, so the Hebrew is Arafel, which now in modern Hebrew is just fog. But I don't know what Solomon meant when he said Arafel. He could have meant darkness. So I'm looking for something, this word that will be similar. So we had Arafel, and I remember there is another word called Ophel. And Ophel is in context because it's a part of Jerusalem. Part of the Jerusalem is called the Ophel. So if the name got a bit changed over the time and Arafel changed to Ophel, then the sentence, God will stay in the Ophel, is just one of the parts of Jerusalem. But I can go deeper than that. Okay, what does the word Ophel mean? And in Semitic language, it's just a high place. So Solomon said, he just sort of, that two meanings at once here. God lives in a high place and also in the fog, but not darkness.
Is there some sort of like the semantic range of these two terms is sort of like just like difficult to see, stretching the bounds of visibility?
I'm finding it. Sorry, I'm just looking up in the concordance right now, and it's talking about its use notes like thick clouds or thick fog. I don't know if there's a difference in modern Hebrew.
Well, this is too deep for me. Getting to the bottom of the root of Ophel, it's very close to darkness, because if you know the two consonants that are can be pronounced in English as A, and one of them is the Ain, which is more throaty, and the other one is the Aleph, which is less throaty. So if you use the Ain as it is now Raphael, then we get to this high place and whatever. But if you change it to Aleph, then you do get darkness, because Ophel with Aleph is darkness. So if the text said Ophel with Aleph, is definitely darkness, but it's not Ophel with Aleph, it's Ophel with Ain, and they sound the same. So I think this is a sort for large confusion here, because it could be fog or darkness or high place or part of Jerusalem, all mixed together.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have anything they want to add? Sandy, you appear no longer to be coughing with tears. So I'm going to ask you to read.
Fingers crossed, but you can take over if I do.
Okay.
20. Now the Lord has fulfilled his promise that he made, for I have risen in the place of David my father, and sit on the throne of Israel, as the Lord promised, and I have built the house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. And there I have provided a place for the ark, in which the covenant of the Lord that he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So I like lining up a place for the ark and him sitting on his throne, because my whole idea, it's not my idea, but I keep on saying that I believe that the ark is God's throne. So putting those two things next to each other, his throne and also the ark. That seems to be significant. He's trying to find a place for that. Continue, Sandy.
Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands toward heaven, and said, O Lord God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above or on earth beneath, keeping covenant and showing steadfast love to your servants, who walk before you with all their heart. You have kept with your servant David my father what you declared to him. You spoke with your mouth, and with your hand you have fulfilled it this day. And therefore, O Lord God of Israel, keep for your servant David my father what you have promised him, saying, You shall not lack a man to sit before me on the throne of Israel, if only your sons pay close attention to their way, to walk before me as you have walked before me.
Okay, let's pause 1 second there. Notice this is very interesting to me. What is the function of this prayer? It seemed like this is a moment about God, but Solomon's introduction of it, which is very thankful to God and giving God the glory and all that other stuff, but it is establishing how firm his kingdom is. It is establishing that it's establishing Solomon's legitimacy over and over and over again. And he's taking God showing up as a sign that he is doing what's right, that he's in the right, that he's the right guy for the job. It's all there. Maybe I'm getting this because Yoav is here, but I am sensing a deep political undercurrent to everything that Solomon is saying. He's mentioning the kingship and the promises of David a whole lot, isn't he? Just
He is. I have a question.
go nuts.
Is that is that because of the ark, the temple, the ceremony? Is it also part of what happened before with his brothers? Is it, when you say political, I immediately think about the warring between the brothers for place, on the throne, trying to, in a sense, circumvent God. Is Solomon pointing to that the words of having to walk before God the way David did because of watching what went before? I mean, they would be probably quite older siblings. Is this something that he's experienced in his household, or is it just because he is that close to God and is saying it for those reasons? And you're right, I am having a bit of an allergic reaction to something or other.
Well, this is going to come up as soon as Solomon's reign is done. And it happened within David's reign that there's real issue with the legitimacy. And it happened when Solomon was taking the throne about legitimacy, right? Like, at what point, I was just seeing in the news the other day that there's still people that deny the results that Trump got elected, right? Like, and the same thing happened the last election, and the same thing happened the election before that, right? Go ahead.
I have a bit of heresy. Solomon says there is no God like you in heaven or on earth. It's not being specific about what happens underground.
That's interesting. When I think about some of the YouTubes that have popped up lately talking about not just from a basic archaeological perspective, but building on that, what happens under the surface and how much of what is going on beneath the surface of the ground, how much it's influencing things. we don't tend to think of gods beneath. But
it is interesting because it's oftentimes breaking down in a 3-part structure. So it will say God in heaven, on earth, or below the earth, right? Like it'll give the 3, and this one only has the 2. And he's married to an Egyptian who have very famous gods of the underworld, gods of the underneath. I agree with this statement. I do think it's calling back to that, which again is fighting for his legitimacy. So many fights for his legitimacy within this text. It points to the future, the importance of the son walking in the right path. I think you're completely right. It's also indications of what goes wrong because there's going to be multiple sons who do not walk in the path.
I think it's a key political decision made by Solomon. The very fact that he chose to build a temple in Jerusalem rather than Shechem or Shiloh further to the north, meaning that he's looking towards he's looking south. He's looking toward Egypt. He's seeing a political future that is connected more with Egypt than in the kingdoms to the north.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, I want to get to this other part because I'm super excited to talk about it because I think there's huge sophistication in what Solomon's about to say. Sandy is drinking, so don't worry, Sandy. Don't worry. I'll read. Now, therefore, God of Israel, let your word be confirmed, which you have spoken to your servant David, my father. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? That right there is something that I wanted to hit. Is they're saying, like, look at the sophistication of Solomon's thinking. He is saying that he understands, like, Yoav, you talk about the ladder to heaven is infinite, right? The Jacob's ladder is infinite number of steps, right? So you have this idea that God is infinite, that he can't. You build a house. You see the glory come in, the cloud, and so you think God is like a big guy sitting in a room. But this is saying, no, he is not a big guy sitting in a room. Right?
I don't remember ever reading a reference to the sky above the sky. I mean, definitely Solomon knows more than I know. I do, but I never heard this before.
Yeah, he recognizes, and furthermore, he actually says, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. So he's actually saying even the heavens themselves are not large enough, and I have made you this house. This is what I was saying before to Dawn about how there's a commentary on how the housing situation works. You see
it doesn't say the highest heaven. He said the heaven and the heaven of the heaven.
Yeah, the heaven of heaven, right?
It doesn't acknowledge the existence of a highest heaven.
Right. Well, I think the reason why it's saying that in this translation is if heaven is above, then you have the heaven which is on top of it. This also, by the way, gets put into other Jewish works. In some of the Merkava mysticism, they'll talk, and Enochian literature, they'll talk about 7 heavens. There's this makes its way even into an Islam where they believe that there are 7 heavens and all this other stuff, right?
Okay, now a bit of mathematics. Does he talk about 2 heavens, heaven and the heaven of the heaven, or does it talk about an infinite series of heavens?
Yeah.
Mathematically, say that Solomon knows a proof that if there exists a heaven, then there must exist a heaven above it.
Right.
Then just by that fact, he proved an infinite amount of heavens, mathematically.
Mhm. That's good. That's very good. I think this is an incredible piece. This is incredible thinking. It's very sophisticated. We think of people being ignorant because of the time that they live, but Solomon understands that God can't actually dwell in the house, and he seems to have a notion of the infinite.
Yeah, peeking into the mind of Solomon is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it
also,
cannot get better.
Also, I want you to think about what I've been saying about the temple as symbolic of what people see when they look into heaven. So Solomon seems to be lining up the house with heaven, but furthermore to that, he is saying that both of them are just for understanding's sake, that it can't be, that it's still too much.
Sorry to be barking on the same tree all the time, or the same ladder all the time. The Jacob's ladder is standing on the ground and extends infinitely upwards. It does not extend even not one step below the ground. And this is what Solomon is saying. God is on the earth, above the earth infinitely. Don't look at for God not even one step below the ground. It's semi-infinite, not infinite. Extremely deep. Not that I understand it, but it's extremely deep.
Okay, I need you guys to continue talking for like 5 minutes while I take a phone call, okay?
Oh, yeah, I can talk about that for forever.
Okay, good. Talk about it with Sandy. So, Sandy, you have to engage with Yoav, okay?
Oh, yeah, let's talk a bit of mathematics. Yes, mathematics. Yeah.
Sure, go for it.
No, it's your turn. Now you're going to talk about something that I will understand. To talk about
Mathematics is a fascinating language. Oh. So that's interesting. So so it doesn't extend below the earth because below the earth is inside the earth, or because why? Like,
maybe if you know that the earth is a globe, yeah, which the ancients did know, that you can postulate that the universe extends infinitely above you, but of course it cannot extend infinitely below you, because that will be again above you.
that's a fascinating way to phrase it. Would it be again above you because?
Yeah, because I mean the earth rotates. So if whatever is above you at night is below you in the morning.
Mm. Do you see the temple? Do you see this whole story differently because of not just because of being Jewish and knowing the Hebrew, but because of being involved in mathematics and things where space, time, all of the elements of those things naturally are part of the language you bring to it?
Well, I'm coming from different worlds, but it's the most important part is like everyone have said over the generation. The most important part is being in Jerusalem physically, experiencing Jerusalem physically. I don't know about today. I don't know if visiting Jerusalem today will give you the same experience, because it has turned into a modern city with high rises, and you used to climb up a steep hill. To get to Jerusalem, you really had to climb up a very steep hill. And when you got to Jerusalem, you had the feeling that, well, I've got to the top. But nowadays they've dug, to ease traffic, they dug a tunnel under it. So in order to go to Jerusalem, you dive through a tunnel. And then bingo, you suddenly find yourself in the middle of it. That's completely different experience. But I'm
So
old
now
enough.
instead of Psalms of Ascent, you have Psalms of Descent to go through the tunnels?
Yeah, so but I'm old enough to have experienced the ascent to Jerusalem as it used to be in the old days, and I remember the experience.
It's interesting. And whether the land feels different. I know, I don't know. I've been walking with my son, and when I go down to Milton and I walk with him in one of his favorite paths, it's basically, it's almost like one of those little points that goes out to a lake, only it's because they built a pond where they blocked the flow of a creek or two creeks. And so you walk out where the river curves back, and you can walk to the end and you can walk back. And when I go there, I find myself flashing back to when I was a child, memories other places, the smell of being beside a lake, the feel of the type of soil and the wood chips they have on the path. But like you say, it's not just the ascent, but to my mind, it would be the texture, the interaction with the land. And I do tend to believe I tend to think that all places in the earth have a particular mood to them, a particular identity of their own, in a sense. You go somewhere and you feel like you know the land, you know the place by the experience of it. So if all you're describing has changed, it's almost like the identity has changed, in a sense. Can you actually understand the identity of, like if I traveled there, could I understand the identity of Jerusalem as a person walking a sidewalk or the side of a road or driving up a road, in the same way that I understand the path going down to the river's curve and back? It's memory building, all of these things. I was thinking this morning, the place by the smell and the memory of smell, and by touch. Our senses, all of our senses, are geared to pick up the identity of the place where we are. And it makes me flash back to what you said about a hill, and it depends what God is in the land, will be the God on the hill. And I'm like, does that apply even to Jerusalem? Does it, what are the gods that are in the land in the days where we're living now? And, is the God of Israel biding his time? Is he having to wait to have other things displaced? How does that work? It's like you talk about thinking heresy, and I'm like, that's not really a thing to say. because really the whole earth is the Lord's, and basically that's it. But at the same time,
Sandy, there's been a lot of political conversation that's been quoting a work called Return of the Strong Gods, right? Like those old strong gods that have just been waiting in the wings, right? Man, you guys have done a good job of filling the time when I had to take a step away. I am looking forward.
I'm just going to add another comment to that. There is an expression in Japanese, gemba, it's in the theory of management. It means be there. You cannot manage from remote control. You have to be there.
Seeing Like a State by James Scott too. Local knowledge and kings trying to make the world legible from afar.
Underground, or what is called undercover boss or undercover CEO, like that idea of like the person managing the cost, the corporation has to go down to the lowest level to see it, which in Christianity we just call the incarnation.
I must comment on the comment. Tom says, no matter how many heavens you go, so God is always beyond it, outside of creation. And this is what I often say, there are two infinites. When we're thinking about the infinity, the Jacob's ladder, it's the countable infinity. And we can think as God being at the end of the ladder. But God is not even there, because there is a greater infinity, which is the uncountable infinity. And that infinity we cannot even grasp. We cannot even start climbing there. So it's not only that God is beyond creation, it's beyond our capacity to understand creation.
Yeah, that's good. It's very good. Okay, on that note, I'm going to read, I'm going to read. And as I read, I think I'm going to start from verse 27 so that everyone can hear the profundity again. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heaven cannot contain you. How much less this house that I have built? Yet have regard to the prayer of your servant and to his plea. O Lord my God, listening to the cry and to the prayer that your servant prays before you this day, that your eyes may be open night and day towards this house, the place of which you have said, my name shall be there, that you may listen to the prayer that your servant offers towards this place, and listen to the plea of your servant and of your people Israel, that when they pray towards this place, and listen in heaven, your dwelling place. And when you hear, forgive. Oh, this is so complex. So, listen in heaven, your dwelling place, right? It's saying that it's too big, like that he can't live in heaven. It's you're praying towards the building. The building is connecting to heaven, right? But even that is all just a metaphor. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Yoav, and what I've been in this hypothesis that I've been putting forward about the temple as being a mirror of heaven. And you can see this, like praying towards the temple is like praying towards heaven. And it seems like the temple is the mode through which God is going to receive prayer. So Jews to this day, when they pray, they face Jerusalem. And interestingly enough, before Mecca, that's the direction that Muslims prayed as well. They also would pray towards Jerusalem originally.
Disputable.
Is it?
No, I'm not going there.
Okay.
It's disputed.
Yeah. I think you should just start saying that for anything, Sartori. Anything you disagree with, and just like, oh, by who? Well, by me. I don't like it.
Yeah, but
Some
Well,
scholars
I'm just saying
say
it's disputed. I don't know if it's disputable, but it is disputed.
yeah,
So,
it's actually a simple geometrical fact. I mean, you go to ancient mosques and you just mark the way they're facing. It's not a matter of theological debate. It's a geometrical fact, but I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not getting into it. Any other thoughts before? Any other thoughts besides not getting into it? So somehow, okay, and I want Yosef here so I can fight with him. There is a connection between, because within Judaism now they say that God can just forgive; He doesn't need a temple and all this other stuff. But here, the forgiveness is tied towards praying towards Jerusalem. So it listens in heaven, your dwelling place, and then you hear and forgive. But it's the prayer is being made facing this house where sacrifice is made. So there's this sort of relationship that still is remembered, that even though sacrifices are not taking place, and you say prayers are the sacrifices, the prayers are made facing where the place of sacrifice was made. Okay, I'm having a debate with someone who's not here. Sandy, start reading.
If a man sins against his neighbor and is made to take an oath, and comes and swears his oath before your altar in this house, then hear in heaven and act and judge your servants, condemning the guilty by bringing his conduct on his own head, and vindicating the righteous by rewarding him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel are defeated before the enemy because they have sinned against you, and if they turn again to you and acknowledge your name, and pray and plead with you in this house, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them again to the land that you gave to their fathers. When heaven is shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place and acknowledge your name and turn from their sin when you afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel, when you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and grant rain upon your land, which you have given to your people as an inheritance.
This is all great. This is very good stuff, especially like I'm thinking of the story of Elijah. There's just multiple stories where this is all related, and it's all related. Like repentance is turning the face, and you have this idea that you are turning the face towards Jerusalem.
Not just Jerusalem, but it makes me think how you pointed out that I've been thinking about the temple is the place for his name to dwell, and how God is beyond even the highest heaven.
Right.
So in turning towards the temple, what we see when we turn there is his name. And it keeps repeating that we are to acknowledge his name, which leaves me in a strange place, because I think about how we don't say the name of God. I mean, in English, I'm used to reading the word Lord, but I don't have a full grasp of the but it's just a word in English that I associate with someone, a British background. I associate that with someone of stature, with saying, somebody of high stature. But to say that of God isn't enough.
Yeah,
And I don't really
that's
know
fascinating.
what
Yeah.
else it is that I don't know.
That's real good, Sandy. Sandy, I'm so glad
Right.
you've been able to join us. Matt, go nuts.
No, I want to pick up on what Sandy just laid down a little bit. Thinking back to, I think it's the third commandment. It's like the temple is the place where the Lord's name dwells. We're the ones we're called to both carry his name and not to carry it in vain. So there's a certain sense that we go to the temple, I don't know, like pick it up again. It's a sort of like constant ferrying of the name back and forth upon the backs of his people. It's localized, centralized here, and it's dispersed and spread out when we're not in pilgrimage.
Yeah. Don is saying paradoxically turning to the name we aren't allowed to say. It's debated. It's debated. It's debated by scholars, guys.
What's almost like going into the tent of meeting and meeting like this cloud that you can't see through. It's like he both is and isn't here.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But it's important enough that it's repeated for each way in which we can fail God, in each and every way in which we can turn away from God. And that's how I think of it. We think of, I turn away from God, but I turn back to acknowledge his name. And that's kind of I feel like there's something very important in the repetition and in all that we can do is to acknowledge it and ready ourselves to go out again. But that if we're walking well, then it's good. And if we fail and we're not walking well, we can turn back. And in acknowledging his name, somehow there's reparation, there's healing, there's something, and I can't do a thing about it. I can't fix it myself.
Right.
I have to simply turn and acknowledge.
Well, and then this gets mixed with tragedy too. So you have the psalmist who's speaking of Jerusalem and says, if I forget you, and then calls curses upon himself if he forgets, right? But it's in a period of exile when he's thinking about the city burning, when he thinks about everything falling apart, God's presence leaving. It's within that context that he says, Jerusalem, if I forget you, let my right hand forget its skill, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, right? He's calling curses upon himself if he, for any reason, forgets to do that turning. And I love what Cal said. We cannot say the name for the same reason that even heaven can't contain God. There's this weird experience about, I'm hoping we're maintaining attention. I know that I am, like, guys, you know that I'm a Christian, and I still want to preserve the tension of some of these concepts of turning towards the house, of how do we treat the name, what direction, what does this mean, what are we doing here? I think it's all beautiful, and I'm really glad to be with you guys, to be talking about it.
Comment. Solomon is talking to two audiences. When he's talking to us, he's laying a theological foundation of the meaning of prayer and the meaning of God.
Yeah.
He's also talking to the people in front of him, his contemporaries, his people. And if I know anything about Israelis, there is a murmur of discontent in the crowd. We have spent a lot of money and a lot of labor in this white elephant that Solomon has built. What good will it bring to us? And he's just saying, well, it's a good remedy against war. It's a good remedy against disease. It's a good remedy against famine. What else do you want?
Yoav, this is why you will always be invited to this Bible study. You referred to the temple of God as a white elephant.
They did, not I.
I
Just
know.
imagine
I
Israelis.
know. I understand. I get what you mean. I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it is a white elephant, isn't it? I've never heard anyone describe it that way, but you are right. That is the way that we often regard it. Oh, that's so good. Because the whole issue with the white elephant, like the origin of the story, is someone gives someone a white elephant because it takes so much to maintain, right? That it's actually, you give it as a gift, but it's actually like, it's it undercuts the person who receives it, right? It's the temple is a white elephant. It takes so much to maintain it, and it sends you into exile. It's it's are you good enough to be in its presence? Can you possibly look in this direction and not be afflicted because you looked at it in an unworthy manner? The cost of the upkeep of such a thing, it's too heavy a price to bear. What wonderful heresies you bring to me, Yoav.
I'm not even sure if that is. So when I look at Exodus 20, the instantiation of the covenant, and the Lord says the phrase, "I will be your God and you will be my people," I kind of see that "you will be my people" as both a promise and a threat. And kind of the rest of the Old Testament is them gradually, slowly becoming a little bit more people that are fit to carry the name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a shattering experience for them.
That's good. Okay, I think this chapter is a long chapter, and we are only halfway done this chapter. Less than? So I think we're going to put a pause on it because I have to get back to work. I got to do some work stuff. So we will return here the next time that we talk, which may not be next week, because I think I might be I'm going on vacation, so I don't think I'm going to be able to. Yeah, it's not a significant vacation.
You're not like Paul Vanderklay, who sits in the rain in a gazebo making videos on his vacation.
Guys. Yeah, just I babble enough with you guys here. Okay. I mean, maybe I will. I don't know.
What time are you getting into Midwestuary? Can we do a live session?
I am going to be there on Thursday. I am going to be at Midwestuary on Thursday. So it is yet to be seen whether or not Bible study will occur there. Who's going to be
I'm getting in Thursday morning.
Sandy, are you going to be there?
Not Thursday morning. I almost was. I had the option of leaving at 4 a.m.
But you are going to be there? You are going to be at Midwestuary?
I am.
I will give you a hug.
Okay.
Sartori, are you coming?
No.
Yeah, too many. Guys, too many. Sartori does enough. This is unfortunate, though, Sartori, because I have a policy right now, which is after Midwestuary, I will not believe that anyone is real if I haven't met them. All right? So Yoav will continue to be a figment of my imagination.
Well, there will be people who have met me there. So, I mean, if you can't count eyewitness testimony, I don't know. But that's a pretty solid apologetic.
Yeah.
But it's not like climbing the actual mountain. It's more like driving through a tunnel.
Dawn, is Dawn going to be there? Is that what your exclamation marks are about, Dawn? If you're there, I'll give you a hug. Please tell me who you are. Okay, is there anything in closing, though, on the topic that we've been discussing? Is there anything else you guys want to throw in? Okay.
No,
Okay, then
not on topic. I do have just one question. Has Jan God been around the last 3 weeks where I've been gone? Because the chat feels...
Yeah,
His absence is potent. Miss
It
him.
is. It is. It is a potent absence, indeed. Um, yeah, Yanni, come back. Come back, Yanni. But he has been here. He was here last week and the week before, I think. Last week we got a troll that Jacob took care of, but that's fine. Yeah, I will be at Midwestuary. Hopefully, we'll be able, and I'll be there in the morning. So hopefully, we'll be able to do Bible study, but we'll see. Okay, we'll see. And then next week, I think we're going to be taking the week off, possibly. So stay tuned, because possibly not, but possibly. Yeah. Yeah, Yanni isn't here and it shows. No Greek, no benign sarcasm. It's not always benign, Don. Sometimes it is deep and cutting. Okay. I look forward to seeing who I will see. And maybe I'll see you next week, maybe the week after. Have a good one. Goodbye? Goodbye.
Bye. Good to see all of you.
Yes, very good to see you, Sandy. Great to have you out.